Hello, everybody. Welcome to our ICP 2020 Plus studio. Today, I'm having a special guest here with me in the studio. So I'm happy that our invitation was accepted by the president of the ICP 2020 Plus, Professor Stanislav Štech. Good
Hello, good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Good
Hello.
afternoon, Stanislav. Thank you for joining me today. So, as I've mentioned, you are the president of ICP 2020 Plus, the 32nd International Congress of Psychology. But I also know that you have been serving in this position already for 9 years. So it's true to say that it's the longest serving president of
Yeah,
ICP. So
yeah,
can you tell us something about the past 9 years?
yeah. I have to say it's really very long because I was really very satisfied last year before the pandemic, so that it would be finally the July 2020, and we will realize and concretize all the work we have done before. But I would like to start with in the year 2012. Yes, because I agreed. I agreed to become the president of the Congress, and but I was sure that we won't win. In fact, in Cape Town. So for me, it was an occasion to say yes. In my I served as a vice chancellor of Charles University, and with the interesting and I think rich network of my domestic and foreign fellows, academic fellows, and the people I knew. So it would be perhaps useful. I said to me that it would be useful perhaps to offer my network and to help a little bit to organize a congress. But I never I realized that how such a huge event it could be, because my experience was only in conferences and congresses, small congresses in a field or in a discipline of psychology. But I just gradually realized that it was in fact a kind of ecumenical, all churches, all branches of psychology, a kind of ecumenical mega congress. So then after, so my first feeling was yes, I don't know. In fact, I was not aware about the dimension of the event. And later, step by step, I realized what a huge task it was for our, I would say, small community of Czech psychologists. And I was alternately oscillating between the sense of responsibility to cope with the organization and organizational task, and on the other side, in the last years, where the pleasure to see my colleagues, you, the secretariat, and other our colleagues Czech and from abroad to manage, in fact, the task. So in 2019, I was really ready, in fact, to open, at the end of 19, at the beginning of 2020, the time when pandemic, came. I was ready to open the Congress. So, but all changed, and the ninth. It's clear that the last year, you can call it bonus year, the plus year, for me, it's not a really a big pleasure, a plus, because it's a new challenge, in fact. New challenge to organize a hybrid, predominantly perhaps online, we will see, online congress, and with the regret not to be able to offer and to show the beauties of Prague to all the participants. So I would sum up, all my feelings now after 8 and I don't know 6 months after we won the venue of Prague, won in Cape Town.
Yeah, you're right. That we were just addressing a lot of challenges during the 9 years. From your point of view, what do you think? What was the biggest challenge in preparations of the whole Congress?
I would like to divide, in fact, into organizational ones, but it was, I think that thanks to you and to the Secretariat and to your company, for me it was hard to imagine, in fact, how to organize a Congress for more than 8,000, 9,000 participants. So how will we organize all this? How will we? So it was my first problem, and for me, I was not able to imagine how we will deal with this problem. But the second one, and the more I would say the more important challenge was how to assure a balance between all the psychological branches, fields, topics. If you can see the number of working groups, for example, more than 40, 45, 47, I don't know exactly now, and with the key note speakers and personalities, how to balance, not to prefer I don't know, clinical psychology or other branches of psychology, and how to balance at the level of state-of-the-arts, keynotes, symposia, and so on. So, but I am really very glad to say that not only that, of course, our Czech domestic, scientific committee and working groups, but with the help of our fellows from abroad, I think that we succeeded, in fact, during 2-3 years to prepare a very balanced program.
Yeah, thank you for that, because you're right that we are just preparing the International Congress of Psychology. So you are correct that the core team is from the Czech Republic, but we are having, as you've mentioned, 42 thematic areas. So we are putting together so many fields of psychology, but we are putting together also the people all around the world, because most of the working groups are multinational. So there are people from Europe, US, Latin America, Africa, Asia, Australia, so from everywhere. So I'm happy that we just made the Congress that it's going to be international. And you have mentioned that we are going to have we wanted to have 9,000 participants, but I got the number about the submissions. So we got about 9,500 submissions. So from which over 7,500 were accepted. So that's a huge number. So that was a huge work for the working groups. But
so it means that we didn't accept, in fact, there was a assessment, a evaluation of the quality of submissions, and I think this is a very important thing, because this is not only a kind of academic tourism or touristic event.
Yeah, definitely. And what can you say? What is your background in psychology?
My background is very simple. I think on the other side, interesting one. I don't know if you know that I started as a psychologist in the field of work and organizational and management psychology.
Oh, really?
And if I can say you, the title of my doctoral thesis was Psychology of Bargaining and Negotiation. So just to say that yes, negotiation in industrial organizations, and I have to say that since 40 years ago, but I could recommend to all psychologists working everywhere in very different areas to study bargaining and negotiation, because I have to say that the knowledge of some processes of bargaining and negotiation were very, very useful to me. Then after, when I became, working in educational psychology now since more than 35 years. But as I was at the head of the department of psychology, vice dean, vice chancellor and then after even in politics at the Ministry of Education. I think that even if I worked for 4 years, 4 or 5 years in the field of organizational and management, psychology of management, so it was really very, very useful for me. Then after, since 83, I'm the member of the staff of the faculty staff, the Faculty of School of Education of Charles University, and I'm interested. I conducted research in four topics. I would say the first is school socialization. Second, the school family relations, especially the topic of the parental involvement and parental engagement. Third, teaching profession, the changing. I was, for example, last year the co-editor of an issue of about on the changing status of teaching profession today. And last but not least, school psychology. I'm a co-author of the first and the only handbook or introduction to school psychology in Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the four main, I would say, topics of my research in educational psychology. But two things to say, specific features, perhaps that I'm very French oriented, French speaking and French writing person. So I'm in contact more than other psychologists, I would say, in our country with my French colleagues from the field of psychology and educational sciences. And second, since the beginning of 90s, I was among 3 or 4 persons. We created a group, FRA group of school ethnography research.
Mm-hmm.
So with preference of on the qualitative methodology. And so I continue to prefer qualitative methodology. It doesn't mean that I don't respect, the quantitative one. And I am really very much in contact with French psychologists and French even sociologists and other. Just last year, I published 2 articles in French journals. So there are 2 specific features, I would say, of my work in psychology.
Okay, I know that you are very active in international networking, and I know that you are involved in many international and also national projects. What can you just mention a project what you are working right now on or research?
Oh yeah, right now is a one very, very important. It is linked, of course, to the pandemic, to the lockdown and school closures, of course. And we created, but I would say that the first step was made by my French colleagues from the Université de Bordeaux University, and there is not a team because we don't work together, every month and so on. But we launched a common questionnaire and a common research design or plan on the parents' reflection, and we continue with teachers and pupils' reflection of the so-called school at home. Because it's not really the home schooling, as we knew it before the pandemic. And so just now we are working on this fact, how, for example, the theme of the issue of the parental involvement, parental engagement change. What is the impact on the focus on the curriculum? It's really a new thing that not only teachers and academic researchers, curriculum researchers, but even the parents and psychologists study a little bit more the fact is what is the curriculum and what is the learning, in fact. Before we had many researchers in psychology of learning, but now you feel that the people ask in fact, what are the prerequisites of an effective learning? Because they see it's not so simple if you have no presential, as we say, the teaching learning process at school, and then if you have to replace or substitute it in at home, there are new questions that we are perfectly aware now. For example, the role of memorizing and drill. Before it was I would say a theme of dispute between different groups of educationalists and psychologists. Now we can see that the problem of memorizing and drill and building the solid prerequisite for learning at the higher cognitive level. This is a very interesting question that we have to analyze and to put forward. Not only to say there are only two opposite approaches. One to do some problem solving, and the other memorizing and so on. So it's just one example from our research, and there are many others. The importance of the concept, of the new concept of socialization, because now we see that it's not only to be in contact, in touch with friends and so on, but the role of socialization in the capacity of structure, the time, for example, the time of learning, the time of which is in school, it's unconscious. But now at home, when we have the answer of even of well-educated parents answering and telling us that it's the most difficult, the structure of time, the concentration, attention concentration, motivation, and so on and so on. So I think that there are very interesting inspirations, and I would like to invite people not to omit, the work groups and the areas of educational counseling and school psychology at the ICP 2020 plus.
I think that the pandemic brings challenges to all of us and to all parts of the human lives. But tell me what you are looking forward to at ICP 2020 plus.
Sorry, it was interrupted.
Okay, so
frozen a little bit.
What you are looking forward to at the 32nd ICP 2020 plus?
Yes, of course, my areas. So of course, what's new and the field of educational and school psychology, especially from the point of view of pandemic, not just to heal, the problems of the pandemic, but what's inspiring for us for the future of school socialization and school attendance and so on. But on the other side, of course, more, I would say, some interdisciplinary question and topics I would like to listen to. I'm not sure if I will be able to listen to all, but of course, for me, it's developmental psychology, very near to my research questions, and controversial themes and debate. All, I would say, because I am rather a political man as well. So, the public issues are very interesting for me. And so I would like to assist to one or two or three controversial team debates, because I think that it's the way to show the utility, the contribution of psychology to society.
Right. You're right that the program will be very rich and definitely exciting as we see the numbers of the presentations and submissions. But I also know that you are going to have a presidential address at the Congress, so you will also contribute in the scientific program. But if you have a possibility to have last sentence to say something to the possible attendees and participants of ICP 2020 plus, what would it be?
It changed, it changed after the pandemic or during the pandemic. I would say be optimistic and the strength of psychology, and try to show, in fact, the importance of psychology to all, to the society, to all of us. So I would say be optimistic with the strength, because of psychology, because I think that we all should leave the Congress with the feeling and with the conviction that psychology was a good choice in our life to work in and to study and to work in, and that it is a discipline that can help the people in everywhere, in every segment or sector of society.
Okay, Stanislav, thank you for your last words, because it was really supporting for all of us. You are still optimistic.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to our Congress in July 2021 in Prague, physically or online as a hybrid format. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you soon. So for the other people, take care and stay safe.
Yeah, it's the same. I would only repeat your last words, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to all participants. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.